ترهبون به عدو الله وعدوكم وآخرين من دونهم لا تعلمونهم الله يعلمهم وما تنفقوا من شيء في سبيل الله يوفى إليكم وأنتم لا تظلمون. صدق الله العظيم. The Deen of Islam, Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Sharia, Sunnatul Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, is a holistic way of life, and in each facet and in each subject and matter, the way of the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Hidayah of the Quran al-Kareem, is a holistic formula. If the entire formula must be followed. Considering that a person has iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, expecting the nusra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking that, and at the same time fulfilling one's own obligations. If a person is not ready to fulfill the obligations upon himself, whether they be individual obligations, us as individuals, or as our communal obligations, and we expect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the hadith says that al-ajiz man atba'a hawaha wa tamanna ala Allah. The foolish person is the one who follows his own desires and he then has expectations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both must be done. Whatever the obligations are of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be they ibadat or be they other than ibadat and worship. When all of that is fulfilled, the entirety of sunnah, the entirety of sharia, as individuals, as an ummah, then we can expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wa'ad and promises for those to materialize. In Surah Anfal, we've been speaking about the ahkam of jihad, the etiquette, the adab, the rulings, etc. regarding jihad. Many ayat came regarding expectation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, assistance only comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With all of that, other ayat, such as this ayah, also urges the Muslim ummah that you also have to move your hands and feet. You cannot be attending lunches and dinners and biryani parties all the time and then make dua that, Ya Allah, give us fath. Ya Allah, do this for the ummah. Ya Allah, do this and do that. That's also not going to work. You also have to do your part. You cannot be spending money on useless things, and then when it comes time to be able to defend yourself, if you haven't militarily created such a power, then you expect that something happens, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should assist us, then that's also incorrect. And that is also against the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So verse 60 of Surah Anfal very clearly tells the Muslim ummah up until Yawm al-Qiyamah, that what is the principle over here? وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. That you must prepare for defense of yourself, for defending the borders of Islam, for defending those that are oppressed, to remove those that are hostile. For all of this to happen, you must make a preparation, a military preparation. مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. The Quran al-Kareem uses a very general word over here. And this is the beauty and the hikmah and wisdom of the Quran al-Kareem. That in each era, the form of quwwah will change. Quwwah literally means strength. Quwwah literally means strength. So in a particular era, strength was perhaps arrows, swords, spears. Then there was advancement, so then there was level of cannons, type of gunpowder, guns. Then more advancement, and advancement continues and continues until we are where we are today. So the Muslim ummah, if they want to expect nusra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they must follow the entirety of deen, and part of the entirety of deen is وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. Preparation, military preparation in such a way which is useful. And if the military might of others is at a particular level and your preparation is still at the level of swords and whatnot, then you're still not following Sharia. Right? So if you do some research, which are the top countries who are spending on military budget, etc., and which are those countries which nations are producing, which nations are producing the highest level of military technology, then you will find the answer to be very depressing. I'm saying it from an Islamic Quranic perspective, that the Muslim Ummah is not following the Quran al-Kareem when it comes to this. So then they shouldn't expect nusra from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either, because this is part of the Quran. This is part of the formula. This is part of the remedy. Right? Today, for example, if nuclear capacity is considered to be perhaps the highest level of military power, then in the entire Muslim world, save one country, Pakistan, none of the Muslim countries have this capacity. None. So how is the Muslim Ummah following the Quran and Sunnah then? And then how are they expecting fath? Because the Quran is not saying that you can just, engage yourself in all kinds of lavish things, or even other deeny things, so to say, and then expect that the results to be there. So this is a part. This is a part of the Quran. This is a part of the Sharia. Right? وَمِذْ ذِبَاطِ الْخَيْرِ. Quwwa, in the tafsir of Quwwa in one hadith is أَلَا إِنَّ الْقُوَّةَ هِيَ الرَّمْيُ. To have long range capacity. I'm going to translate it based on contemporary understanding. That Quwwa refers to what? Long range capacity. وَمِذْ ذِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ. ذِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ referring to the horses of jihad. That you should also have the best when it comes to foot soldiers as well. When it comes to ground military capacity as well. So whether it be long range, whether it be ground, whichever forms it is, then you must invest in all of that. And what level should it be? تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَ. That you should be able to cast fear into the hearts of those that are your enemies, those who you know, and وَآخَرِينَ مِن دُونِهِمْ, others who you may not know of. That's the level it should be. تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَ اللَّهِ. That your military might should be such that, and that's what you aspire for. Now, whatever is in your capacity, to be able to do that, مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ is also there. If really as a nation you're unable to do that, then fine. But if you're wasting your money and your time and your efforts on all other things, and you're not spending over here, then you can't say this is مَسْتَطَعْتُ. Right? So the level should be تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَ اللَّهِ. That you should be able to cast that level of fear into the enemies of Islam as well. Now, is that happening today? Does anyone say that this is the might of the Muslim Ummah, that we dare not attack a Muslim nation? Far from in fact, the opposite. تُرْهِبُونَ بِعَدُوَ اللَّهِ is thrown out the door. This ayah is not practiced upon by the Ummah, neither as individuals nor as a community. وَآخَرِينَ لَا تَعْلَمُونَهُمْ اللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ. You may not know those enemies that are to come, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. So to prepare for the future as well. Not just right now, but you're always advancing in it. There's so much to be unpacked in this ayah. That you can't settle for it. There's always the next step, always the next step. That's what the military gave me. A general can't just look at what's in front of me now and what will happen and possibly can happen. وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ شَيْءٍ فِي سَبِيلِ. Don't worry about, no, we're spending over here. No, this is فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. مَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ شَيْءٍ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يُوَفَّى إِلَيْكُمْ. The hadith of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدْخِلُ بِالسَّهْمِ الْوَاحِدِ ثَلَاثَ نَفَرٍ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. That by by one arrow, and he used on that time, the example will be given based on the arrow of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's for the ummah, the ulama of the ummah to explain the generality of it. Yani one piece of artillery, that by means of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enters 3 people into Jannah. It's a hadith of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Who are those 3? Number 1, صَانِعَهُ الَّذِي يَحْتَسِبُ فِي صُنَعَتِهِ. The one who creates it, those whether it be factories today, those that make it. مُنَبِّلَهُ, those that give it. That was a system over there, that there's there's an archer, and then those that provide and give the arrows. And finally, Rami bihi, the one who shoots it. Meaning everyone in this process will all be rewarded. So if in our zaman there's 4 or 5, 6, 7 steps in, so be it, then everyone will be rewarded. So this isn't a dollar gone into, or this isn't a dirham or dinar gone into vain, the ayah is saying. That everyone will be rewarded for this. In fact, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that لَيْسَ مِنَ اللَّهْوِ ثَلَاثٌ. 3 things are not considered to be futility, even if it's done out of, in a fun manner, for example. First one, مُلَاعَبَةُ رَجُلِ أَهْلَهِ, that if a person, he plays with his family, his wife, spousal relationship, to make it an intimate relationship, the time spent in that, that's not considered lahu. That's not considered futility. A person will be ma'jur fi, a person will be rewarded for that. The next 2 have to do with jihad. The next one, the rami an qawsi. Contemporary translation I'll do, that a day at the range. That person spends time at the firing range, this is not considered lahu. You'll be rewarded for this. The second, the one who prepares his horse. He looks after his horse. A culture of this manner should be created. Not of video games, not of useless things, of just partying. This is part of the Muslim culture, Islamic culture. But unfortunately today Muslims are become so passive. No, we can't hold this, no. This is not something they ham to nahi karte bhai. This is part of Islamic culture. The Kitab al-Jihad is full of ahadith. Every book of hadith almost has these ahadith. So it's about creating a culture around this. It's not about pacifism. Can't be pacifist. There's a place and time for everything. So the nature of a Muslim, Rasulullah himself would have horse races in Medina Munawwara. He would make the Sahaba race. Now horse races, the ones that bet over here. I'm not talking about those horse races. Races to show this, to create this kind of love around these things. So that should be part of the DNA of a Muslim. That's how we should train our children, to think like that, to act like that. Bravery in these things. مَا تُنْفِقُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يُوَفَّ إِلَيْكُمْ. It will be rewarded to you, be given to you in full. وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تُظْلَمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not oppress you, and you will not be oppressed by anyone else. Allah will not allow that to happen. We make dua that Allah ta'ala gives us understanding the Quran. Subhanallah bihamdih. Subhanakallah bihamdih. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa